David, come sit with Mom.
How old is he?
14.
14. Okay, Sarah, so tell us who you are, first of all.
My name's Sarah Carrasco. I am a co-coordinator for TACA, Talk About Curing Autism
We love
in Colorado.
We love TACA.
Yeah, I love TACA too.
Good.
And an educational advocate for people with developmental disabilities. And this is my oldest son, David. He has regressive autism. He regressed after the MMR when he was 13 months. But I didn't really put it together, so I kept vaccinating him.
Okay, so just slow down a second and go back to before the MMR, how he was as a baby.
Well, you know, he was vaccinated since birth, and I remember at the hospital 2 different nurses giving him vaccines, but the schedule for 2001 was just 1 Hep B, so I think he got 2 Hep B. So he had what they thought was colic. His tummy was always really hard, and he cried all the time and had chronic diarrhea until he was 11, actually. A lot of GI distress. But by some miracle, he was still developing normally. He had a lot of language, knew his alphabet. He said mom, dad, rubber, hi, bye, and pa for my dad, for Papa. And then after the MMR, that was it. Within 24 hours, he just completely stopped talking, stopped looking at us. And my mom told me, like, he's getting worse, stop vaccinating him. And she told me the Amish don't have autism, they don't vaccinate, like, you're being foolish. And I didn't listen and kept vaccinating. And then when he was 4, is that okay to move on to that?
Yeah, you just tell the story the way you want to.
Yeah.
To tell me.
A little handsome, but I know.
Really is.
You're an angel. Mama loves you so much. But then when he was 4, he still didn't have a diagnosis of autism because his was so severe. Like, he was super violent, really self-injurious, would hurt people, bang his head. People kept saying it was too severe to be autism. So it might have been a form of psychosis, they didn't know. So they wanted to put him on all these drugs, and I'm like, well, if you're going to put my 4-year-old on medicine, like, I have to really sit down and talk about that, like the long-term side effects. So they invited me to a pharmacology clinic with 7 childhood experts, like developmental pediatrician, child psychologist, psychiatrist, etc. And they made me put his whole medical file in chronological order for the pharmacology clinic to go discuss behavior meds. And when I did that, that's when I noticed his regression into autism after the MMR. And then after his 24-month shots, or around 24 months, that's when the violence, like the serious violence, started. I mean, he was so strong, he pushed both of us down the stairs.
So is this your younger son?
This is my middle son, Aiden. Aiden is a little warrior. He goes to protest with me, and
have you had any vaccines, Aiden?
Yes.
He did until I figured it out. So he was vaccinated till he was 2. But funny story, when Aiden was born. Okay, so when Aiden was born, again, my mom's like, I think it's the vaccines, you need to cool it. So I told the people at the hospital, like, we're gonna delay his vaccines till he's 2 months old. And I meant that. I wasn't going to skip them, I was just gonna delay them. And so I had just had a baby with no pain meds, and I went to the bathroom and I told my ex-husband, I'm like, don't let them take the baby, that nurse keeps trying to take him. And she came in the room. I heard the door shut when I was in the bathroom, and I came out and I said, where's the baby? And my ex-husband said, oh, well, the nurse said we're being irresponsible, she took him. So I looked down the hall and I'm like, stop. And she kept walking with my new baby. And I'm like, stop. And she's looked back, she's like, you don't know what you're doing, and starts speed walking, right? So at this point now I'm running down the hall. And she gets to the door and she's got him like this, and I saw her like shut the door behind her and jump out of the way. And I literally like, bah, kicked in the door, like Bruce Willis in Die Hard. And I was like, give me back my baby. And yeah, so she did, she gave him to me. But I was screaming and yelling and made such a fuss, you know, we got discharged like immediately, which was fine. But just the point is that, like, even if I'm saying I just want to delay, you know, they feel like they have a right to override what a parent's choices are, and that's hepatitis B. No baby even really needs hepatitis B. You know, that's really for people with you know, who might be IV drug users or very sexually active and that kind of thing, not a baby.
So what's his life like now? What's it like for him?
Well, you know, we've done every possible intervention, the diet, like tons of therapy, chelation. He had heavy metal poisoning when he was 4, we figured out. And all the violence is gone. He's happy. He's like an angel. He's good all the time. He's my best behaved child. No offense, Aiden. And academically, he's where he's supposed to be. He's very smart.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's just the language that he's delayed in. But, you know, it is hard for him because I think the social aspect is really difficult. He's going into high school but still doesn't know how to initiate conversations and that kind of thing. So we're working on it. He's got an awesome new therapist, Brian. Hi, David. So it's getting better. Life's good. It's just unfortunate that children have to suffer the way they do, though. And then me put $800 a month since he was 4 years old into him out of pocket just for diet and supplements and vitamins, you know. But in our particular case, the pediatrician did acknowledge that vaccines caused his autism and retired early. Because I said, I just wrote an article for VAC Truth, V-A-C Truth, and it's called Vaccines, the Exception to Medical Coercion, because in my case, I said, my mom says it's getting worse, you know, I kind of want to wait. And the pediatrician made me cry and belittled me and was like, don't you even question me, I'm a doctor, and your mom's not a doctor, and blah, blah. And so then when I went into his office and I said, here's his medical file, I know it caused his autism, he went through it, he saw what I saw, and I was like, it was the vaccines, right? He was like, well, yeah. And all he said was, you signed the piece of paper saying you can't sue me, right? And I'm like, yeah. And I also know I can't sue a manufacturer, but coercion is illegal. You coerced me into this, and I signed that paper under duress. So I'm coming back Friday to talk about, to look at your medical malpractice insurance. And that was a Tuesday, and I called Friday to come back in, and he retired a year early.
Well,
so I think
people, that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I think we need to really think about that.
You are wonderful.
You're magical.
So can we write his name? Can you write?
Yes.
Would you write your name on the bus?
You want to write your name on the bus?
Yeah. Right, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
So now the question is, who has the pen? I'll get a new one for you.
Okay. David, come sign the bus. Okay, now sign your name.
And do you know your last name?
Carrasco.
Here you go, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Are you going to add something? Lovely.
I'm not blocking, I'm just stopping you from burning your hand. You can write whatever you like on this bus. It's really, really hot.
Yeah. He's an angel.
You are, you're wonderful.
You are wonderful.
Sorry, it happened to him.
Yeah, I'm sorry about
You're
Billy.
a good brother.
He is a good brother.
Your brothers are very important.